standing as the lone Senate-confirmed appointee at HUD as 8 other deputy and assistant secretary positions remain vacant. Carson said he has had to brief himself about programs that would ordinarily fall under the portfolios. "There's no question that I've been forced to learn very rapidly a lot of stuff. But that's okay," Carson said. "I happen to have some excellent people around me at the non-assistant secretary level. At the non-deputy secretary level, everybody's doing 2 or 3 times more than they ought to be doing." Carson said he and the White House collaborate when it comes to picking people for the highest posts in HUD, and despite some differences, he projected optimism that the Senate would confirm the eventual nominees by the end of the summer. "I have people that I wanted, and they have been some people that they wanted," Carson said, describing the process as amicable. "There was one person they didn't particularly like. I think they've done well given the level of frustration. I mean, can you imagine you've been elected president and the only thing anyone wants to talk about is Russia? Can you imagine how frustrating that is?" Carson said of the White House. "People say he's wild with his tweets and things. I think he's pretty restrained under the circumstances. Trump's Twitter feed this week has focused less on the Russia imbroglio and more on the healthcare battle engulfing his party." The president dispatched top administration officials, including Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price, CMS Administrator Seema Verma and White House Legislative Director Mark Short, to Capitol Hill late Wednesday evening in an effort to salvage Republicans' crumbling Obamacare repeal plan. Carson insists he has played a role in working with lawmakers toward a bipartisan compromise, a bargain the White House and most Republicans are still resisting. "I've already spoken to a number of people," Carson said of his contacts on Capitol Hill. "I made it clear that there are other ways to look at this, and when you guys get tired of arguing, maybe we could talk about that. I've talked to Democrats as well, recently," Carson added, noting that his outreach to Democrats has included running into them or talking to them in their offices, or talking to them here, at HUD headquarters. "I would hope in the long run that they would make a deal with the Democrats," he said. "That was the problem with Obamacare. It was done by one party, and you have the other party constantly against it. That's the same thing that will happen if you pass it this way. At some point, we have to learn." Meanwhile, the retired neurosurgeon has remained one of the cabinet members most unscathed by the administration's raucous first 6 months. Carson has instead remained out of the spotlight, focusing on initiatives such as Housing First, his push to end homelessness and help move individuals into the engine of America. The goal is really to get these people off the streets where they're in danger, and where they actually cost society more than if you go ahead and take care of them, Carson said. "We also have to think about the fact that every single human being has potential, and I look at them as human capital, and if we develop that, we're talking about them becoming part of the engine, and if we don't develop it, part of the load." Carson's famously soft-spoken style has always seemed an ill fit for a president known for his outspokenness. However, the HUD secretary said he sees a very, very kind heart behind Trump's Twitter thumbs. "No problems at all," Carson said of his relationship with Trump. "We're philosophically very well aligned. He knows a lot about housing. It's amazing how much he knows about it. But he's also a very kind-hearted person. You may not see that sometimes because he's reacting to things that other people are doing and saying. He sometimes reacts rather vigorously." Carson stopped short of criticizing Trump's often dramatic response to criticism, restrained one would expect from the self-effacing secretary. "I don't know if you could say he reacts too much," Carson said of the president. "I would just say he is, perhaps, more reactionary than I might be." Carson's soft touch and familiarity with the workings of Washington media could one day make him an effective voice to promote the administration's agenda publicly, as several of his counterparts are already doing. For now, Carson says he intends to remain behind the scenes and allow Trump and others to soak up the spotlight. The biggest change for him may be people calling him Secretary Carson rather than Dr. Carson, with one major exception. When my wife tries to get my attention, she now says Dr. Carson. He jokes.